Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Brad McCrae. First of all, I'd like to thank the staff. A tremendous amount of work has gone into that pile of paper that's over there and what you have in front of you. As you'll hear tonight, many of the opponents are dog owners. All of us love dogs, and all of us know this park. That's why tonight we're asking that each of you deny the conditional use permit for the dog park. Now, this little public open space goes by several names. In your staff report, it's called Lakeview Park. The Oakland General Plan refers to it as East Shore Park. We simply call it Astro Park after this little small tot lot that exists in the urban green space. And tonight you'll hear all three names used. But whatever you call it, this space looks like this. It's considered by many to be a respite from the urban scene, a splash of green within the built environment of our Lakeview neighborhood. So let's start with some big picture planning. The city's open space plan says that existing park acreage is inadequate to meet community needs, and that's our starting point. Oaklanders are already operating at a recreational deficit. Granted, a dog park was identified in the Lake Merritt Master Plan as a potential use. However, at the same time, the Lake Merritt Master Plan's guiding principles on recreation state improve the park as an informal outdoor recreation. Oakland's youth should especially benefit from the lake's resources. And benefit they do. The following pictures of young people were taken at Lakeview Park, right where the fenced dog run would be. East Shore Park is a vibrant, thriving urban space when it's activated. Next slide. The lawn where the dog enclosure is planned is currently a place of healthy diversity. A variety of ages, cultures, nationalities, and physical abilities currently use this space. It's not used for a single purpose. It's flexible and unprogrammed. The open space is not exclusive. There are no fences, and the space is shared. It's a public space that promotes the best of Oakland. It's a place where young people play hard and where kinship is fostered. It's a park of community. And the open lawn provides the kind of healthy living that we all want for the youth of our city. But it's small by neighborhood park standards. According to your staff report, it's only about 3.5 acres in size. But it gets lots of use, and more all the time as the surrounding neighborhoods continue to thrive. The city's open space element of the general plan states that East Shore Park is a better site for active recreation due to the large open lawn area. Now, those are important words. It's a better site for active recreation because it has a large open lawn. And you can see why right here. This is not an uncommon scene during evenings and weekends. Now, your staff report correctly states that the dog run would take up only about 23%, or about 1/4 of Lakeview Park. Here's a drawing from the dog park proponent's website. That looks small, right? Well, here's another view. If you include the setbacks around the fenced dog area, which would not be usable for active recreation, the proposal would take away about half of the existing open lawn in this small neighborhood park. So in a way, this proposal is the classic tragedy of the commons. And that's a problem for Oaklanders who rely on the park's flexibility, like these adults and these children. Now, in your staff report, attachment I, you have alternate findings so that you can choose to vote no tonight on the dog run. And we support your finding that says the dog play area would take away open lawn that is currently valued for active recreation by multiple users and therefore would not conform to the general plan. Here are the project proponents mocking up the proposed fences that would take away the open lawn area. We agree with your findings for denial that state the desirable neighborhood character would be affected by physically fencing off part of the open field. The fencing off of grass and replacement with wood chips would adversely affect the visual attractiveness of this high-profile location and setting. And that the proximity to a children's playground creates a potential for safety impacts, and there could be health-related impacts if the dog waste is not diligently cleaned up. And we agree with the findings for denial that state, if not diligently maintained, the dog play area could potentially become a visual blight. Simply put, we think that this open lawn is too valuable to be fenced off for use by one group of people. Now, the best example we've seen for coming up with alternatives is a process used by the City of Seattle. In 2005, the Trust for Public Land published a document called Creating Dog Parks Without Rancor. We believe the City of Oakland should use this approach. It's pragmatic. About 70 potential sites were identified in Seattle by the Parks and Recreation Department in cooperation with COLA, which is the Citizens for Off-Leash Areas. 8 sites were used to develop site selection criteria. They're listed here. They include established uses, abutting residences, parking, visual character of the park, spillover habitats. Now, as I've mentioned before, you have findings for why Lakeview Dog Play Area is inconsistent with Oakland's general plan, but let's see how the dog park stacks up to Seattle's criteria. The prime time for playing at a tot lot and on the lawn would occur during the same time prime as dog park use, evenings and weekends, because that's when people are home from work, right, and school. And East Shore Park is small. Therefore, avoiding interference with the established uses would likely be impossible. If dogs are corralled inside a fenced enclosure at Lakeview Park, there just wouldn't be enough room for everyone else outside the fences of the dog run. For example, these guys would have to compete with this organized group here. This is Girls on the Run, who's used the other side of the park, and these girls cover a lot of ground when they run. Or consider Bay Hill High School and their wonderful use of the playfield. The proposed dog enclosure would interfere and impact their use of the open lawn for physical education and active sports. And other groups would be likely impacted by the loss of unprogrammed open space, such as the local chapter of the Special Olympic team, seen here. This Northern California chapter of the Special Olympics trains seasonally right here where the dog run would be. And there's just a lot of space that's needed for the random play space for children. Not to mention other organized youth programs like soccer shots, which would be in competition with adults in a pickup game on the open lawn. Another criterion that Seattle put into place is that dog parks shouldn't be near residences. Now, that's not such an issue at Lakeview Park. There are a few condos and apartments that look down on the green space, which does provide an amenity to these residents. Of course, dog parks are also an important amenity, but because they're fenced, they're better located in underutilized areas, such as this site in Alameda. Assure availability of close-by parking. Traffic is already congested in our neighborhood. If built, this dog park would be popular, and it would likely be a regional draw, causing increased congestion and parking problems. Regardless of how many people would walk to the park with their dogs, and there would be a lot, other people would drive here from farther away, and that's a fact. People drive to dog parks, and that could impact existing parking in our commercial core. Avoid locations near children's play areas. The proximity of the dog park to the tot lot is a real issue. As you can see, the entrance to the dog run is close to the children's area. The tot lot is very popular with dozens of kids on weekend, and a popular dog run would likely have dozens of dogs during the same period of time, afternoons and weekends. Conflicts between dogs and children at some point would be unavoidable. Therefore, we agree with your findings for denial that say the proximity to a children's playground creates a potential for safety impacts. The fifth criterion is to choose sites where there are minimal impacts on the visual character of the park. Now, this is the rendering done by ODOG and the project sponsors. This is the proposed visual character of the dog run. And this is the existing visual character of the neighborhood park. And this is why we agree with your findings that state the fencing off of the grass and replacement with wood chips would adversely affect the visual attractiveness of this high-profile location and setting. Not only would the dog area be inconsistent with the neighborhood character of the park, the dog area would also be very large. In the distance, you can see the proposed location of the far fence. The dog run would be far too big for this small neighborhood park. And the grass would be replaced with wood chips, as shown here at Ohlone Dog Park. And as you can see, during a wet winter, wood chips and dirt can be a mess. Grass always looks good, even when it's swampy, or when it's being played on, or when it's simply a green gateway to the Lake Merritt neighborhoods. Avoid sites where there'll be spillover. The popularity of a dog run would likely have unexpected consequences on the remaining spaces, including the public sidewalks and the lawn area. And lastly, environmental habitats. We don't have to worry about that so much at this particular site. So, when reviewing the project against the criteria adopted by the City of Seattle, Lakeview Dog Play Area does not pass the test. So in summary, in Oakland, we pride ourselves on diversity. This is the kind of thinking that a small group of neighbors embraced when it chose to speak up to protect and conserve Astro Park for a broad array of recreational uses. But this kind of thinking isn't just happening in a small group. Thousands of like-minded neighbors, many of who are here tonight, have come to agree that a dog park in the Lake Merritt area may be the right idea, but that Astro Park, Lakeview Park, East Shore Park, whatever you want to call it, is the wrong place. Whatever you call it, our little neighborhood park is very valuable as unprogrammed green space in the middle of our thriving neighborhood. It provides active recreation, it provides healthy living for young and old, and it does all of that right at our gateway to the Lake Merritt District. And that's why we ask you to vote no on the fenced dog enclosure and deny the application for a change of use here at East Shore Park. Thank you very much.